The massive Imperial ships appeared without warning, materializing above Earth's atmosphere in a display of power that was meant to awe and intimidate. Their silver hulls gleamed in the sunlight, stretching for miles across the sky. This was supposed to be another routine integration for the Galactic Empire, their 10,000th world to add to their collection. Admiral James West stood at the command center of Earth Defense Station Alpha, his weathered face illuminated by the dozens of holographic screens surrounding him. His gray eyes narrowed as he studied the readings from the alien ships. 20 years of military service hadn't prepared him for this moment, but somehow he felt strangely calm. "Sir, they're broadcasting on all frequencies," reported Lieutenant Rogers, her fingers dancing across the control panel. "They're using English and every other Earth language simultaneously." The message boomed through the speakers, its tone dripping with authority and condescension. "People of Earth, you have the honor of being chosen for integration into the Galactic Empire. Your primitive civilization will be uplifted. Resist and face obliteration. You have one planetary rotation to submit your response." West's first action surprised everyone. He smiled. Then he laughed, a short, sharp sound that made his officers turn and stare. "Send this message back," he ordered. "Dear Imperial Command, thank you for your interest in Earth. Please submit your credentials, environmental impact assessment, and technological safety certificates for review. We will process your application for landing rights within our standard 30-day period." The silence that followed was deafening. The Empire's ships hung motionless, as if stunned by the response. Meanwhile, Earth's scientists were already hard at work. Dr. Anna Wright, leading the analysis team, noticed something odd about the Imperial ship's energy signatures. "Admiral," she called, her voice tight with concern, "their drive systems are leaving micro-tears in spacetime. They either don't know or don't care about the damage they're causing." The Empire's response came 3 hours later. A smaller ship descended, carrying their cultural assessment team. They hadn't expected to need permission. No world had ever demanded it before. The assessment team landed at the designated point in Geneva, emerging in their gleaming white uniforms. Their leader, a tall figure who introduced himself as High Assessor Smith, carried himself with an air of bored routine. That changed quickly. In the first meeting, Earth's representatives from various nations peppered the Imperial team with questions about everything from their governance structure to their environmental policies. The Imperials were unprepared for the scrutiny. "You mean all your worlds follow the same cultural pattern?" asked the Indian representative, looking genuinely puzzled. "Of course," replied Smith. "Unity is strength. All worlds must conform to Imperial standards." "That sounds terribly inefficient," commented the Nigerian delegate. "Diversity drives innovation. How do you handle environmental adaptations on different worlds?" The assessment team's frustration grew as hours turned into days. They couldn't understand why Earth's nations, while united in defense, insisted on maintaining their distinct cultures and governments. Their attempts to demonstrate Imperial technology backfired when Earth's scientists asked detailed questions about safety protocols and environmental impact. A week into the assessment, Admiral West received a disturbing report. The Empire's ships had attempted to secretly scan Earth's defense systems, but their probes had been detected and blocked by Earth's quantum shield grid, technology the Empire hadn't known was possible. "Sir," Lieutenant Rogers reported, "we've intercepted communications from their fleet. They're confused. They keep saying we're doing everything wrong, and that we're dangerously independent." West stood at his office window, watching the sunset paint the sky in colors that now had to compete with the gleam of Imperial ships. "No," he said quietly, "we're doing everything right. They just don't understand yet." The Empire's frustration reached new heights when they discovered Earth had rejected their standard integration timeline. Instead, humanity had begun its own assessment of the Empire, and the preliminary results were troubling. As the first day drew to a close, it was becoming clear that this first contact was not going according to anyone's plan. except perhaps humanity's. Agent Mark Stone walked through the halls of the Earth Defense Council building, his Imperial uniform perfectly pressed, his steps measured and confident. To all observers, he was just another Imperial official, assigned to assess Earth's readiness for integration. In reality, he was probably the most dangerous spy on the planet, but not for the reasons anyone might guess. He entered the main research facility, nodding to the guards who checked his credentials. The Empire's arrogance had made his infiltration almost too easy. They never imagined that one of their own agents would actually be human. "The temporal physics lab is this way, sir," said Dr. Wright, the same scientist who had first noticed the problems with Imperial drive systems. She led him through a series of secured doors, unaware that her visitor was actually part of a secret Earth intelligence program. Stone watched in amazement as the scientists worked. On one screen, he saw a simulation of Earth's new quantum shield technology, something the Empire had dismissed as impossible. In another lab, researchers were developing ways to detect and repair the spacetime damage caused by Imperial ships. "Fascinating," he murmured, and meant it. His hidden camera captured everything for Earth's Defense Council, not for the Empire as his handlers believed. During his lunch break, Stone sat in the facility's cafeteria, observing the casual interaction between people of different nationalities, religions, and backgrounds. An Indian physicist debated theory with a Brazilian engineer while sharing a meal with a Russian programmer. This was exactly what the Empire feared, and exactly what made Earth strong. Later that afternoon, Stone attended a military briefing. Admiral West was explaining Earth's defense capabilities to a group of Imperial observers. "Our strategy focuses on protecting not just our planet, but our entire solar system," West explained, pointing to a holographic display. "We believe in sustainable defense systems that don't damage the fabric of spacetime." The Imperial officials exchanged worried glances. One of them, Commander Gray, spoke up. "Surely you understand that the Empire's methods are proven across thousands of worlds." "Proven to work, yes," replied West with a slight smile. "But at what cost?" Stone typed notes on his Imperial datapad, appearing to document Earth's weaknesses. Instead, he was recording the growing panic among the Imperial assessment team. They had expected to find a primitive world ready for conquest. Instead, they had found a civilization that was not only advancing rapidly, but had also discovered fundamental flaws in Imperial technology. That evening, Stone made his scheduled report to the Empire. "Earth continues to resist standard integration protocols," he said, choosing his words carefully. "Their insistence on maintaining cultural diversity and independent research programs makes them unsuitable for immediate absorption into the Empire." What he didn't report was his meeting later that night in a secure underground facility. Admiral West sat across from him, reading Stone's real assessment of the Empire's weaknesses. "Their entire civilization is built on technological shortcuts," Stone explained. "They found ways to travel between stars, but they never bothered to understand the damage they were causing. They achieved unity through force, not cooperation. The cracks in their system are starting to show." "And their other worlds?" West asked. "Many are watching Earth with great interest," Stone replied. "The Empire's grip isn't as strong as they pretend. Several worlds have already secretly contacted me, asking about Earth's methods." As Stone left the meeting, he passed by a laboratory where young engineers were excitedly discussing new improvements to Earth's defense systems. He smiled, remembering his own training years ago, before Earth had sent him deep undercover into the Empire's ranks. The Empire thought they were assessing Earth, but in reality, Earth was assessing them. And so far, the mighty Galactic Empire was failing every test that mattered. Through the window, Stone could see the Imperial ships still hovering in orbit, their imposing presence meant to remind Earth of their power. But to him, they looked increasingly like relics of a fading era, about to be overtaken by something new and very human. Dr. Anna Wright stared at her computer screen, double-checking her calculations for the 5th time. The numbers didn't lie. With each jump through space, the Empire's ships were creating tiny tears in the fabric of reality. These tears weren't healing themselves as they should. Instead, they were growing. "Admiral West," she called, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "You need to see this immediately." Within an hour, the Earth Defense Council's emergency chamber was filled with the world's top scientists and military leaders. The holographic displays showed a three-dimensional map of space around Earth, with red spots marking the damage caused by Imperial ships. "The tears are spreading," Dr. Wright explained, pointing to the growing red areas. "At the current rate, the damage will become irreversible within 50 years. In 200 years, it could destabilize entire solar systems." Admiral West's face grew grim. "And the Empire has been using this technology for how long?" "Based on their records, over 3,000 years," answered Agent Stone, who stood in the shadows at the back of the room. "They've created millions of these tears across the galaxy." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had only been studying space travel for a century, but they had already discovered something the mighty Empire had missed, or chosen to ignore. "We have to warn them," said Dr. Wright. "Whatever their intentions toward Earth, this affects everyone." West nodded. "Prepare the data. We'll present it to their high command tomorrow." The next morning, in the grand meeting hall of the Geneva Space Center, Earth's representatives faced the Imperial delegation. High Assessor Smith sat with his usual look of bored superiority, but that expression quickly changed as Dr. Wright began her presentation. "Your faster-than-light drive systems are creating permanent damage in the structure of spacetime," she explained, using simple diagrams to illustrate the problem. "Each tear is like a small wound that never heals. They're growing larger and beginning to merge." Commander Gray laughed dismissively. "Impossible. Our technology has been perfected over thousands of years. You expect us to believe that your primitive science has found a flaw our experts missed." Admiral West stepped forward. "Sometimes fresh eyes see what others have overlooked. We've developed a different approach to faster-than-light travel, one that works with space-time instead of tearing through it." The Imperial officials whispered among themselves, their faces showing a mix of disbelief and growing concern. One of their scientists, younger than the others, raised his hand. May we see your data?" "Of course," Dr. Wright replied, sending the information to their tablets. "We concluded everything, including our methodology and raw calculations." Hours passed as the Imperial scientists reviewed the data. Their whispers grew more urgent, their faces paler. But when High Assessor Smith returned from consulting with the Empire's Central Command, his expression had hardened. "This is clearly an attempt to undermine Imperial authority," he announced. "Your so-called evidence is rejected. The Empire's technologies are beyond question." Admiral West stood slowly, his voice quiet but firm. "The laws of physics don't care about Imperial authority. This isn't about politics. It's about the survival of every living being in the galaxy." "You will cease this line of research immediately," Smith demanded. "This is your final warning." The room grew tense. Security forces on both sides shifted nervously. But Dr. Wright simply pressed a button, and a holographic display filled with new data, surveillance of similar tiers forming near Imperial worlds. "We can't cease the research," she said calmly, "because we're not the only ones who have noticed. Look at these readings from your own central worlds. The damage is beginning to accelerate." Agent Stone, watching from his position among the Imperial delegation, saw the exact moment when fear crept into their eyes. Not fear of Earth's defiance, but fear that humans might actually be right. As the meeting ended in angry disagreement, Admiral West turned to Dr. Wright. "Begin implementing Protocol Sanctuary," he ordered. "If they won't listen to reason, we'll have to protect ourselves, and eventually, them too." The world watched as Governor Alan Reed walked to the podium in the United Nations Assembly. Behind him, representatives from every nation on Earth sat united. The massive view screens showed the Imperial ships still hovering in orbit, their presence now more threatening than impressive. After careful consideration, Reed began, his voice firm. Earth has reached a unanimous decision. The Galactic Empire is hereby banned from entering our solar system. The Imperial delegation, seated in the observer section, erupted in outrage. High Assessor Smith stood up, his face red with anger. You can't ban the Empire. We control half the galaxy. We can, and we have, Reed replied calmly. Your faster-than-light drives are causing irreparable damage to spacetime. Until you address this issue, you are not welcome here. Commander Diana Blake stood at her station in Earth Defense Command, watching as the new planetary shield system came online. Thousands of satellites activated in perfect synchronization, creating a web of quantum fields around the entire solar system. Shield network at 100% power, she reported. All Imperial probe attempts are being deflected. Admiral West nodded, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. And our new drive systems. All Earth ships have been retrofitted with safe FTL technology. We can defend any point in the solar system without causing further damage to spacetime. The Empire's response came swiftly. A dozen warships appeared at the edge of the solar system, their weapons charged. High Command had ordered them to break through Earth's defenses and teach the upstart planet a lesson. Imperial ships approaching Mars orbit, Lieutenant Rogers announced. They're preparing to fire. West remained calm. Activate Protocol Sanctuary. The Empire's first attack was meant to shatter Earth's defenses in one massive strike. Instead, their energy weapons splashed harmlessly against the quantum shield. The second attack failed just as spectacularly. The third never came. Their weapons had overheated trying to breach the impenetrable barrier. In the UN Assembly, Agent Stone watched the Imperial delegation's confidence crumble as reports of their failed attack came in. He sent a coded message to his Earth handlers. Phase 1 complete. Other worlds are watching. Governor Reed approached the Imperial delegation again. This is not a negotiation. You have 1 hour to remove your ships from our solar system. After that, we will begin actively pushing you out. You wouldn't dare, Smith sputtered. The Empire will destroy you. Reed simply pointed to the view screen, where the failed Imperial attack was replaying. Your weapons can't penetrate our shields. Your ships can't match our maneuverability. And unlike you, our technology doesn't damage the very fabric of space. We are not afraid of your threats. In orbit, Commander Blake directed Earth's defense fleet into position. The sleek ships, powered by humanity's safe FTL drives, easily outmaneuvered the bulky Imperial vessels. They didn't fire a single shot. They didn't need to. Activating repulsion field, Blake ordered. A wave of quantum energy spread out from Earth's ships, literally pushing the Imperial fleet back. It was like watching leaves being blown by a gentle but unstoppable wind. The Imperial ships tried to resist, their engines straining at full power. But Earth's technology worked with the natural laws of physics, while theirs fought against them. One by one, they were forced to retreat. Admiral West watched the tactical display as the last Imperial ship disappeared from the solar system. Send the final message, he ordered. All across Earth, people gathered in streets and squares, watching on giant screens as humanity's message was broadcast across the galaxy. The Sol system is now off-limits to the Galactic Empire. Any attempt to enter our space will be met with immediate expulsion. We choose to stand alone rather than be part of an empire that endangers the entire galaxy. As the message ended, Agent Stone received another coded transmission, this one from contacts in the Empire's outer worlds. It contained just 3 words: "We stand ready." The ban was in place, but everyone knew this was just the beginning. News of Earth's successful defiance spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On the Imperial border world of New Haven, Agent Stone stood in a crowded underground meeting room, surrounded by representatives from 30 different worlds. None of them wore their Imperial uniforms anymore. Earth didn't just resist the Empire, Stone explained, pointing to holographic data streams. They proved the Empire's technology is fundamentally flawed. The space-time tiers are growing faster than predicted. A tall delegate from the mining world of Centauri raised his hand. Our scientists have noticed the tiers too, but the Empire threatened to destroy anyone who investigated further. Earth is offering an alternative, Stone replied. Safe faster than light travel. Clean energy. Real freedom. He paused, looking around the room. But first, we need to help them prove the Empire can be stopped. Back on Earth, Admiral West reviewed reports from across the galaxy. Agent Stone's network was growing larger every day. More worlds were secretly reaching out to Earth, asking for help, sharing information about Imperial weaknesses. Sir, Lieutenant Rogers called out, we're detecting unusual activity in the Imperial fleet. Multiple ships are breaking formation. They're running away. The tactical display showed dozens of Imperial ships suddenly jumping to different coordinates. But instead of their usual aggressive pursuit, the Imperial command ships seemed confused, unsure which way to turn. In the Imperial capital, High Assessor Smith faced the Emperor's council, his hand shaking slightly as he delivered his report. We've lost contact with 3 sector fleets. Several border worlds have gone silent. And Earth, he swallowed hard. Earth is somehow transmitting their banned research data across our entire network. Impossible, thundered the first speaker. Our systems are secure. At that moment, every screen in the council chamber lit up with Earth's data about the space-time tiers. The Empire's own security systems were spreading the truth they had tried so hard to hide. Commander Blake stood in Earth's quantum communications center, monitoring the data broadcast. The virus is working perfectly, she reported. Every Imperial system that tries to block our data just ends up copying it to more networks. Governor Reed smiled. Sometimes the best way to fight an empire isn't with weapons, but with the truth. On world after world, people began to question their Imperial rulers. The Empire had always claimed their technology was perfect, their authority absolute. Now they were being proved wrong on both counts. Agent Stone traveled from planet to planet, meeting with resistance leaders. He didn't need to convince them to rebel. They had already decided. He just showed them how to coordinate their efforts, how to work together like Earth's nations had learned to do. The Empire holds power through fear and ignorance, he told a group of rebels on a forest world. But they don't understand things like adaptation or cooperation. That's why Earth scared them so much. In orbit around Earth, Commander Blake detected more Imperial ships approaching. But something was different this time. Admiral, she called, these ships are sending an old Earth signal. SOS. The ships were Imperial deserters, crews who had seen the evidence and chosen to switch sides. They came asking for help, offering information in return for sanctuary. The Empire told us Earth was primitive and dangerous, one captain explained after landing. They were half right. You're dangerous, to them, because you make people think, make them question. Admiral West stood at his usual spot by the command center window, watching Earth's defense fleet guide the deserter ships to safe orbit. The Empire's biggest mistake, he said quietly, was assuming that being different meant being inferior. Agent Stone's final report of the day was brief but powerful. The rebellion isn't coming anymore. It's already here. And the Empire never saw it coming, because they were too busy looking for weapons to notice the spread of ideas. The Empire had ruled through fear for thousands of years. Now they were learning what it meant to be afraid, not of Earth's weapons, but of the change they could no longer stop. The Imperial capital world shook with another explosion as more ships arrived through safe jump points. But these weren't Imperial vessels. They were Earth-designed ships, crewed by rebels from 100 different worlds, all using the new clean FTL drives. Admiral West stood on the bridge of the Earth flagship Pioneer, coordinating the massive operation. Not a single shot had been fired yet. They didn't need weapons for this revolution. All ships in position. Commander Blake reported from her station. The quantum field network is ready. West nodded. Begin Operation Cleanup. Across the Imperial capital system, thousands of ships activated their quantum field generators simultaneously. The effect was immediate. A massive web of energy formed, designed not to destroy, but to heal. The space-time tiers are beginning to close, Dr. Wright announced, watching her instruments. The quantum field is working exactly as planned. In the Imperial Palace, the Emperor himself watched in disbelief as the rebel fleet easily evaded his ship's weapons. The Earth-designed vessels moved like dancers through space, their quantum shields deflecting everything thrown at them. High Assessor Smith burst into the throne room, his perfect uniform now wrinkled and stained with sweat. "Your Majesty, we've lost contact with 70% of our worlds. They're all broadcasting the same message. They stand with Earth." Agent Stone walked calmly through the palace corridors, no longer pretending to be Imperial. Guards stepped aside, many of them secretly part of his network. He entered the Emperor's command center just as another report came in. "Imperial Drive System Control reports critical failure," a technician announced. "All ships using standard Imperial FTL drives are being forced to shut down to prevent further space-time damage." The Emperor stood from his throne, face red with rage. "This is impossible. We are the Empire. We cannot be defeated by physics." "That's exactly the problem," Stone said, making everyone turn to look at him. "You'd never understood that the laws of nature are not subjects to be commanded. Earth didn't defeat you. Reality did." On the Pioneer, Admiral West received the surrender message from the Imperial fleet. Their ships hummed dead in space, unable to use their dangerous drives, while Earth's allies continued their work of repairing the torn fabric of space-time. "Admiral," Lieutenant Rogers called out, "we're getting reports from across the galaxy. The quantum healing network is spreading. The tiers are closing faster than we predicted." In the palace throne room, Governor Reed arrived with Earth's terms. They were surprisingly simple. The Empire would transition to safe technology, share power with its member worlds, and accept oversight from a new Galactic Council. "This is not a conquest," Reed explained to the assembled Imperial leadership. "Earth still bans your ships from our solar system. But we're willing to teach you, to help you change, if you're willing to learn." The Emperor, seeing his power crumbling, tried one last threat. "And if we refuse?" Commander Blake's voice came over the comms. "Then you'll have no functioning ships, no FTL travel, and no way to maintain your empire." Physics doesn't negotiate. In Earth's Quantum Communication Center, Dr. Wright watched as data flowed in from across the galaxy. The space-time tiers were healing, slowly but surely. Centuries of damage would take time to repair, but the process had begun. The revolution succeeded. Agent Stone reported to Admiral West, "Because we didn't fight the way they expected. We didn't conquer. We convinced. We didn't destroy. We fixed." West looked out at the stars, now safer than they had been in thousands of years. "That's the real difference between Earth and the Empire," he said. "They tried to rule the galaxy. We chose to help it heal." The Empire's flag still flew over their capital world, but now it shared space with flags from Earth and 100 other worlds. The age of Imperial rule was ending, replaced by something new. An alliance built on cooperation, innovation, and respect for the laws of nature itself. 1 year after the revolution, Earth's ban on Imperial ships remained firmly in place. But today was different. A single ship approached the solar system's edge, using the new safe drive technology. On its hull, it bore both the old Imperial seal and the new symbol of the Galactic Council. Admiral West stood in Earth Defense Command, watching the ship's approach. Next to him, Commander Blake monitored the quantum shield network that still protected Earth's space. "Their drive signature is clean," Blake reported. "No space-time distortions detected." "Let them through," West ordered. "But keep the shields ready." The ship that landed at the Geneva spaceport carried the former High Assessor Smith, now Representative Smith of the Transitional Council. He looked different now, humbler, as he stepped onto Earth soil for the first time in a year. Governor Reed met him in the same room where Earth had first rejected Imperial authority. "Welcome back," Reed said simply. "Thank you for allowing this visit," Smith replied, his old arrogance replaced by genuine respect. "The Council sent me to deliver our progress report personally." In the conference room, Dr. Wright reviewed the data from across the galaxy. The space-time tiers were healing faster than expected. Over 8,000 worlds had adopted Earth's safe technology, and more converted every day. "The repair process is working better than we hoped," she explained, showing charts of healing space-time. "The quantum field network has expanded to cover almost 30% of known space." Agent Stone, no longer undercover, presented his own report. "The transition hasn't been easy," he admitted. "Some Imperial hardliners tried to resist, but when their ships couldn't move without causing damage that everyone could now detect, they had no choice but to adapt." Smith nodded. "We were wrong about so many things. We thought unity meant uniformity. We thought power meant control. Earth showed us a better way." On the main screen, images showed the changes across the galaxy. Former Imperial worlds now governed themselves, while working together through the new Council. Ships with clean drives traveled safely between stars. Scientific cooperation flourished as worlds shared their unique perspectives and discoveries. "There's something else," Smith said, pulling out an official document. "The Council voted unanimously. We're officially recognizing Earth's ban as galactic law. No ship using dangerous technology will be allowed to approach any inhabited system." Admiral West smiled slightly. "From being banned to setting the standards. Quite a change in 1 year." "That's not all," Smith continued. "We're establishing the Earth Institute of Spacetime Studies. Every world in the galaxy wants to learn your approach to science and cooperation." In orbit, Commander Blake watched as ships from dozens of worlds performed safe FTL jumps around the solar system. They were learning Earth's techniques, not just for technology, but for working together. "It's strange," she said over the comm to West. "We achieved more by banning them than we ever could have by joining them." Later that day, in his office overlooking the Geneva spaceport, Governor Reed spoke with the Council via quantum link. The former emperor, now just one voice among many, had a question. "After all this time," he asked, "will Earth ever lift the ban?" Reed looked out at the busy spaceport, where ships from across the galaxy landed and launched using clean, safe drives. "The ban stays," he said firmly. "Not because we fear you anymore, but because it reminds us all of an important lesson." "What lesson?" asked a council member. "That sometimes the strongest position is simply saying no. That true progress comes from questioning old ways and finding better ones. That real unity doesn't mean everyone has to be the same." As the sun set over Geneva, Earth's quantum shield glimmered faintly in the sky, not as a barrier anymore, but as a symbol. A symbol that one world's refusal to accept dangerous practices had changed the course of an entire galaxy. Agent Stone, watching the stars come out, smiled as he sent his final report. "Mission accomplished. The Empire didn't fall. It grew up. And it all started because Earth dared to say, 'Entry forbidden.'"